Republican state legislators can't even wait for the Supreme Court to rule on and likely overturn Roe versus Wade, which could happen as soon as next month. Instead, they're tripping all over themselves to pass laws to restrict a woman's right to choose ahead of that. In Oklahoma, the legislature has already banned nearly all abortions, but not content to wait until the law goes into effect. They have introduced not one, but two Texas-style abortion bans, one which would ban nearly all abortions after 6 weeks, and the other which would ban all elective abortions entirely, outright. They go into effect immediately once they're signed into law. In Ohio, legislators are considering a near-total abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest. One lawmaker calling carrying a rapist baby an opportunity, even for a 13-year-old child. Watch that.
This bill, if it becomes law, has no rape exception. So under this bill, if a 13-year-old girl, let's say, was raped, this bill would require this 13-year-old to carry this felon's fetus to term.
It is a shame that it happens, but there's an opportunity for that woman, no matter how young or old she is, to make a determination about what she's going to do to help that life be a productive human being.
Did not think I'd live to see this come to pass here in America. Joining us now, Fatima Goss-Graves, President and CEO of the National Women's Law Center, Melissa Murray, New York University law professor with a focus on reproductive rights. She also clerked for Justice Sonia Sotomayor when she served on the U.S. Court of Appeals. I didn't think I'd see this prevail, I guess I should have said, to be more accurate. Anyone that works in women's health or maternal health and sort of mortality knows that some of the highest mortality risks are for young victims of rape in this age range of 11 to 14. They're at extremely high risk of death from the pregnancies. A lot of them don't even know they're pregnant until very late. Talk about the real world impact of these really extreme measures, Fatima.
You know, they're creating a public health crisis on purpose, and it is shocking to watch. It used to be the sort of thing that was only in daring whispers, and now they're saying it. They're saying that quiet part out loud in its blatant shouts in the halls that are designed usually to protect people, and young people will be worse out, people who have low incomes, people who can't travel, and all of us. It won't just be limited to a handful of states.
So, Melissa, a rape victim is a victim of a crime, full stop. A rape victim who becomes pregnant and wants to have an abortion, now banned from doing so in these states, can't do it. That feels like re-victimizing her again. Why isn't the law designed to protect her from that second victimization?
I think that is the question, Nicolle. I mean, it feels as though we are careening toward Gilead, a state in which women have no choice over their reproductive capacities, even in situations where not having that choice exposes them to even more trauma than what they've already experienced. We saw the Democratic legislator making that case, and we saw the Republican female legislator saying that this was merely an opportunity for a woman to work through her trauma by raising her rapist child. Like, let that sit with you for a little bit. I mean, it truly is the quiet part out loud. And, frankly, I'm surprised that we don't see protests every day in front of the Supreme Court at this point, because these states are moving aggressively because they expect that the 6-3 conservative supermajority is simply going to ratify what they are already doing this June. And so we are moving toward that, and time is running out. And I'm not even sure that there can be a compromise on Roe at this point, even if the court upholds Roe, but upholds this Mississippi ban that is currently being challenged. We will have eviscerated abortion access throughout most of this country. We are merely forestalling the inevitable. I mean, the real question is, what are we going to do about women's rights in this country?
I mean, Melissa, Justice Sotomayor, I believe, described it as a stench, and the stench was the activism among state legislators tied directly to who Donald Trump put on the court. That synchronicity of passing the laws. They seem to have gone even further. I mean, to your sort of question, who answers it? What does happen next?
I mean, the only response is for individuals to register their objections at the ballot box. But even that, I think, is fraught because this conservative supermajority on the court has effectively made it difficult for ordinary Americans to do that by destroying the Voting Rights Act and allowing states broad latitude to pass laws that effectively suppress the vote by denying federal courts the opportunity to address partisan gerrymandering. We have very few ways to stop laws like this from being passed at state legislatures. And when they are blessed and credited at the Supreme Court, we have very few ways to register our objections. And so, again, this is the kind of judicial activism that conservatives profess to hate, but now it is working in their favor.
I want to read some of the reporting in the New York Times today that just, I think, should bring home the universality of these measures. They could sweep up every woman at one point or another. This is an op-ed. It says these laws are making miscarriage more traumatic in America. The Texas law and laws like it set up a situation where anybody who experiences a pregnancy loss that they can't explain to the satisfaction of law enforcement becomes suspicious. That's Farah Diaz-Tello, Senior Counsel and Legal Director of If, When, How. Quote, this is a lawyerly point, but the idea that if it is a crime to have done something to have ended that pregnancy, that becomes a jury question. You have to put a person through a trial to determine whether loss was innocent, she added. Vast majority of women who have miscarriages are gutted and devastated by them. The idea that you would layer this trauma and this scrutiny and this suspicion on top of it is appalling. How is the story and the crisis broadened, Fatima, to bring every woman and every person into the conversation?
Well, I think we have to keep telling these stories. Part of the challenge right now is the vast majority of people in this country don't believe that Roe will be overturned. They don't believe it, despite abortion effectively being banned in Texas, in Idaho, and coming in Oklahoma. And so that disconnect of not really believing it and believing deeply in a court that has disappointed us again and again is part of the challenge. But you are so very right that it is not going to just end with policing women's bodies around abortion. It'll be around miscarriage. It'll be around how you carry a pregnancy. It'll be around contraception. It'll be around your ability to have relationships with who you want, your ability to have sexual relationships. There is no end to the bottom here, and folks have to get ready for it.
Melissa, it's always interesting to me to watch, and I sort of watch this space of sort of maternal outcomes or the world over. And I don't know that most American women realize that we're moving we're not the top of the pack. I mean, there are places that have surpassed us over the last 20 years. And it's now more dangerous really than it's been in maybe a generation. On the reproductive health front in the United States of America, how has the law been, I don't know if hijacked is the right word, but manipulated by the right to make that the case for all women in this country?
I mean, I think part of this is a court that has been willing to do what they can to make this easier. And again, a court that has acted in ways that has advanced a project of dismantling women's rights in ways that could not be done through majoritarian politics because women would register their objections there if they could. But you're exactly right. We rank below so many advanced democracies on so many fronts: paid family leave, health care, prenatal care. In some of these states that are going to such aggressive lengths to curb abortion, we have some of the most dismal maternal mortality rates and infant mortality rates, and the rates about the knowledge of sexual education among students. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. And instead, they argue that they are passing these abortion restrictions for the purposes of securing women's health. That is absolutely false. Like, if you wanted to secure women's health, there are a million better ways to do it without controlling women's bodies in this way.